Halloween is globally celebrated as a day of horror, fear, and frightening, in a wholesome and friendly manner. However, diving in deeper, you see that Halloween is a holiday full of mystery, coincidences, and modern day rituals with dangerous repercussions. What are some of these dark secrets behind this globally endorsed occasion, and what lengths have people gone to give it the global reputation that Halloween holds today? My name is Sammy G, and welcome to the October Ossuary. This is the series where I talk about the dark sides of human nature and highlight the evil we are all capable of committing. Before we begin, where the hell did Halloween originate? How did it get associated with pumpkins and scary costumes? The holiday is referenced as early as Celtic Britain, in the regions around Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. The Celtic people celebrated a festival known as Samhain to mark the end of harvest season and the beginning of winter, a festival which is still held annually to this day. At the end of October, it was believed that the ghosts of the dead would return to Earth, as well as some other supernatural entities. To protect themselves of these unwanted deities, the Gaelics would wear costumes to hide from these spirits, as well as set off bonfires to scare the evil poltergeists away. Additionally, they would sacrifice animals and crops as an offering to the spirit. Who would have guessed that such beliefs would occur on a day before the Day of the Dead? A day where many around the world remember those who have now passed. As time evolved and outsiders interfered, Christianity would have a huge influence on how pagan rituals would be carried out. Although a lot of the practices remained the same, the new narrative is that Samhain now celebrates Christian saints and martyrs. The new holiday was called All Saints' Day or All Hallows' Day, the day before called All Hallows' Eve, deriving the name Halloween. Some of the new traditions included mummying and guising, which involved actors known as mummers, performing a talent such as singing, poetry, or even the occasional sword dance in front of an audience, usually door to door, in exchange for food and treats. Mummers did this whilst wearing their disguises, aka guising. The problem is with these traditions is that because of the undead correlations to the festival, it was very common for people to play pranks on the residents and then blame the misfortune that happened on the spirits that were visiting. The concern grew even more now that mummers would go door to door, which incentivizes the actors, usually children, to play sick tricks on unsuspecting victims. This problem would pursue all the way up to the 18th century, when Halloween would be introduced to North America as a result of the British and Irish immigrating to the United States. Initially, Halloween was forbidden from being celebrated due to it being too pagan in a Protestant Christian society. But when it did, they introduced trick-or-treating to give a substitute for the kids to stop pranking. However, doing so would introduce a huge problem. Firstly, it's important to note that the act was derived from souling. Souling is where usually children from poverty begged house to house for some extra food on All Saints' Day. The resident often would give them a pastry known as a soul cake in exchange for a song or a prayer. In contrast, when trick-or-treating, people go door to door asking for treats in exchange of not being tricked and meddled with. And although most generous neighbours would be more than happy to give away their sweets to modern day geysers, there are some who like to add the element of surprise when giving away their candy. Some psychos choose to promise a fortune for the approaching solar if the receiving party accepts the invitation to come inside their homes. You see, many youths go out by themselves, door to door, to eat some sweets, and as harmless as trick-or-treating may be on the surface, with innocence comes ignorance. Tragically, many kids enter these dungeons never to be seen or heard from again. We've spoke about the sins people intentionally commit, but what about the freak accidents that are a built-in risk of the festive season? In Halloween of 2016, a father with his 5-year-old daughter was going around the block as is tradition during these times. They knocked on the door, waiting for an answer as is routine. The door was opened and the little girl collected a couple packs of Haribos, showing her gratitude as she was going. When suddenly, the neighbour's dog rushed from behind the corridor, coming at full speed towards the impotent infant. The mutt mauled the young preschooler, and she let off a shriek loud like a hyena shot in the desert. 14 stitches were required, and plenty more time was needed to heal from the trauma attached to the hound that harmed her. But how is that the dog's fault? It saw another stranger in their territory. God knows what the intruder would do to the puppy's beloved owner. And how can you blame thy neighbour? All he wanted was to spread joy to the children posing as their favourite characters. And how can you blame the father that just wanted to spend time with his daughter? This is just one of those cases where an accident happened to be an inherent chance of danger, and unfortunately, this wasn't the last of its kind. There was a time in 2021 where a young boy and his 2 friends were going door to door, testing the neighbour's kindness. After a 3-hour-long grind, the trio walked back home in their costumes with the grub that they had accumulated for the night. Whilst they watched a scary movie, the boys tucked in and snacked on their hard work from the night. Suddenly, the young boy started choking on something, both hands on his neck. His friends hopelessly stared at him before an ambulance was called and he was rushed to the ER. The Halloween just got that much scarier, especially 2 weeks later when his parents were handed the funeral bill. That's right. The food that the group planned to take ended up taking one of them. The cause of death wasn't by choking, nor was it that the sweets were tampered. The culprit of killing, an allergic reaction. Cross-contamination with a harmless ingredient caused a young man to be the centre of mourning on the Day of the Dead. It just goes to show that even though Halloween is a fun time to spend with those who mean the world to you, there is a part of your life that you are sacrificing and putting at stake to perform the pagan ritual. The October Ossuary is a place containing many answers, yet those who visit often leave with questions. For the sake of heritage, and because society is doing it also, how are you willing to celebrate to continue on a tradition?